Hello my friend, so good of you to pass by once again to see what I have to share with you today. I intentionally didn't open my Visual Studio Code at the beginning as I used to do in my previous lessons because I have a new wallpaper. I think it is nice and I wanted to show off a bit. So let me know what you think of my wallpaper in the comments. Do you like it? Is it nice, or I should just mind my own business and start the tutorial already? That's just by the way. In today's lesson, we will be styling 3 new web elements and our focus will be on input, images, and buttons. Without wasting much time, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. But before we do that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and if you enjoy this content, leave a like on this video. I appreciate that a lot. Now let's begin. Okay guys, so for the sake of what we are going to do today, I think it will be in our best interest to recreate everything from scratch. So I'll just open the index.html and clear everything and start all over once again. So I'll quickly change this one to introduction to CSS as we did in the previous lesson. We will get back to this in a bit, and I think I will also clear everything from the index.css. Now let me quickly link the index.css into the index.html by creating a link element right here. Walk out of the current folder, move into the stars folder and select the index.css. I want us to begin with the image element in HTML. So I'll first of all create a div container, and inside this container I'll create my image element. So with the image element, I will source the file from my files folder and maybe select the first image like this. I'll also go ahead and click on the go live to show what result we have obtained so far. Okay guys, so our image element has been created successfully. I'll restore down the browser and also restore down the code editor so that I can show the two at the same time. So as we have done before, there is this space around this image, and because of the default styles the browser gives to element, we will go ahead and type our asterisk to overwrite some of these things. And the first thing that I'm going to overwrite is the margin. I'll set the margin to 0, and now the space is gone. I'll also set the padding to 0 like this. Great. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm just going to give some simple styles to the div because our main concentration is on the image. So I'll just type my div here. I'll give it a height of 300 pixels and also give it a weight of 300 pixels. Now we can't see anything, and the reason is that the dimensions of this image extends beyond the height and weight that we have set for the div container. And even if we give a background color of, let's say, red, we still can't see anything, but no worries, we will get to it in a moment. Now I'll move on to styling my image. So the first that I'm going to do is to give the image a height and weight. Okay, so I want the image to occupy 90% of the height that has been assigned to the container. So I'll set the height to 90% like this. And now as you can see, we are seeing this red background here, which is the remaining 10% of the height that has been assigned to the div container. Okay, and when you take a look at the image has resized to maintain the aspect ratio. In case it doesn't, we can set it by ourselves, but by default it will automatically resize to maintain its aspect ratio. All right, now I want the weight of the image to take the 100% space allocated for the container. So I'll set the weight to 100% like this, and now the height is 90% of the weight, which is 300 pixels, which was assigned to the container, and the weight of the image is 300 pixels, which was the total width assigned to the container. Okay, now the image is not looking all right, and I want us to do something different, so I will change the height to 100% so that it will take up everything. Now what I'm going to do is that I want to give this div a border, so I'll set the border to, let's say, 4 pixels solid, let me see, yellow. Okay, like this. And now the border is right there, and I want it to be a circle. I want the container to be a circle, so I'll set my border radius to 50%, like this. And now it is a circle. You can't see the circle, you can only see some part of the circle because of the dimensions of the image. Okay, now if I want the image to take the shape of the container, there are two options available to us. So the first thing is that we will set a style property called overflow. Okay, so I'll set the overflow to hidden, like this. And now that the property of overflow has been set to hidden, all the part of the image that was beyond, or that extended beyond the shape and dimensions of the container, is now hidden. Okay, now another thing I can do is that I can come to the image and then set the border radius here as well. So border radius, instead of maybe giving it 50 pixels or 50% as we did for the container, we can say inherit. And what will happen is that it will inherit the border radius from the parent element. Is that okay? All right, but me, usually I prefer the overflow because, you know, well, I don't know why, but the overflow works just fine for me. An image can also have a border, so I can set a border of, let's say, 5 pixels solid, let me say, green, like this. And as you can see, the image has what do we call it, some border. But the reason why we are not seeing it as a circle is because of the overflow that has been set to hidden. So I think in this case the inherit will work for us, so I'll set it to inherit like this so that we can see the full border that has been set for the image. Is that okay? Yeah, so there are so many other things. For example, an image, there is a property called object fit. Okay, and with the object fit we can set it to contain, cover, fill, you know. So for example, if you set it to contain, the full image will show exactly like this. Okay, you know, it's not nice, so usually you set it to cover, and I think that is the default value if in case you don't set it. Okay, so yeah, now the fill also works the same as the cover. Okay, all right, so I think that will be all for the image. Coming up is the input and button. We will do the two together. All right, don't go away. Okay guys, so now I'll head over to the index.html, and under the closing div tag I'll create my form element, and inside the form I'll have my input and button. Okay, so I'll create my form container first, and then inside the form container I'll create my first input, and this input I'll give a placeholder, and I'll say example John Snow. I'll create another input, and this time I'll set the type to email. As a matter of fact, the type doesn't matter when it comes to styling, but you know, it's okay. Placeholder, I'll set it to example John Snow at hbo.got, like this. Okay, I think I'll create one more input, and I'll set the placeholder to enter password. All right, then I'll create a button. and the text in the button will say register, like this. So as you can see, the input are showing on the same line, okay, and the button also followed suit. So we are going to take a look at how we can style it and make it more beautiful. So let's head over to the index.css. So I'll begin by styling the form container. So I'll type my form here, bring my opening and closing curly bracket, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to give it some margin. So I'll give it a margin of 20 pixels. If I type M20, the Emmet will do the rest for me. I will also want to give it a padding of 20 pixels, so that we can have some space inside. Alright, and as you can see, because the padding has been assigned, the button has been sent to a new line, okay, but don't worry, we will get to take care of it in a moment. Now I want the form container to have a definite width, okay, so I will set width of about 450 pixels, like this. So if you type W450, it will do it for you. And I think I should also give it a background color, because it is like any other container. So I'll set a background to, let me say, blue. I won't leave it to be blue. I'll just bring my cursor here and maybe modify the color a bit to, okay, I think this is good. Or yeah, I think this is good. Okay, then I will also give a border radius so that it will have round corners. I'll set the border radius to 10 pixels. I think 10 pixels will be okay. Great. Now the first thing that I'm going to do in the input is to make sure that every input takes up the entire block, okay, or it will take up a new line on its own, okay. So now that I have my input and my opening and closing curly bracket, I will set display. I'm going to change the way it has been displayed to block, like this, so that each one will be on a new line, okay. I think they are more close to each other, so I will add some margin to it. But the margin, I will add margin top and bottom to have different figure, and then left and right to also have a different figure, okay. So I'll type the M and then the margin will come. I want the top and bottom to be 10 pixels, and then the left and right, I'll get back to it, but at the moment let me set it to 0. Now I also want to give it some padding, so I'll set padding of about 5 pixels. I think 5 pixels is okay, and I will also set a width of 100%. Okay, I want it to take every space available to it. All right, and then now that I've set the width, take a look at something here. You see that the space here is quite bigger than the space here, okay, and I think what we can do is to set the margin for the left and right to be auto. So let's see something. Well, I think we should reduce this one from 100% to 90%, and now the space is even. Okay, I think the space is even. Yeah, now the next thing that I'm going to do is to set height for my input. Okay, so I'll set the height of about 35 pixels, and I think it looks just fine. And now I want to give it some border radius, of, let's say, 5 pixels, so that we have some round corners like this. Yeah, I think it looks nice. Okay, now by default the input elements have borders around them. I can set the border to none. So for example, I can set border to none so that it will have no borders. So as you can see, there are no borders, but once I click on it, then there will be some border, and this border is called outline. Okay, so if I don't want to have that one too, I can set the outline to none as well. Okay, so let's take a look at something. There is nothing like that. Okay, now I can also change the letter spacing of the input or the text that displays in the input. So I can say letter spacing and set it to, let's say, 5 pixels like this, and now the letter spacing is 5 pixels. The the placeholder is displaying at 5 pixels letter spacing, and anything I type into it will also display similar property. Okay, and I think that is cool. Okay, I think we should make it 4 so that it will look quite better. Okay, I think this is good. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is that we can also set different styles for our input when the input has been clicked or when it is on focus. All right, this is how we do it. I'll just type input, bring my column, and then say focus. And what is going to happen is that once I click on the input, any star that I set inside the focus will now be applied to it. So for example, if I want it to have an outline, I can set an outline. Okay, but I think I should do it border. I should set a border of, let's say, 1.5 pixels solid, let's say green, like this. Okay, so the moment I click on it, you see that the border will come. Let me make it 2.5 so that it will be more visible. So 2.5. Once I click, you see that there is a green border around, but the other ones don't have it. Okay, if I come here and click on this one, this will now have border of 2.5 solid green, like, okay, then this one too, as you can see it right there. Okay, great. I can also increase, let's say, the font size of the text inside that particular button once it is focused. So for example, I can increase font size to, let's say, 16 pixels. So once I click on it, the font size will increase. Okay, let me make it 18 so that it will be distinctive. So once I click on it, the font size becomes 18, as you can see. Okay, but I don't like the way it appears all of a sudden. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add something we call transition, and I will set it to 4 seconds. So what it means is that the font size increment will take 4 seconds to take effect. Not just the font size, the border color will also be exempted from this rule. So let's take a look at it. Do you get it? I think 4 seconds is very slow. Let's make it 2.5. So once I click on it, then it will, the styles will be applied after 2.5 seconds. Great. So I think we have done enough with the input. Let's move on to the button. So I'll type my button here, and the first thing that I'm going to do with the button is to remove the border. So I'll set the border to none. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is to increase the font size. So font size, I'll increase it to 18 pixels like this. Yes, I think that is good. I will also transform the text. So I'll set text transform to capitalize the first letter. Yeah, I think that is good. I will also set a padding of, I think I'll set 7 pixels like this, and then I'll give it a border radius. So I'll set border radius to, let's say, 5 pixels. Okay, I think this is good. I will also change the background color to black. So I'll set BG and I'll set the background color to black, and of course I will change the color of the text to white. Okay, I will also change the font weight of the text. So font weight, I will change it to 600. Please, it's not pixel, just 600. Okay, and the next thing that I'm going to do is that I also want the button to display block. Okay, so I'll set the display to block like this, so that it will also take up the entire space, and I'll also give it some margin. I'll give the margin this way. So first of all, I want the top and bottom to be 10 pixels. Okay, and I want the left and right to be auto so that it will be centered. And now the button has been centered. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to set the width to 90%, just as we did for the input. Okay, so let's do that. I'll have my width of 90% like this, and now we have our button created. I think I should, I should increase this one a bit to 92 or 3. Let's see. Okay, great. Now we have everything intact. I think I'll also change the height of the button and make it a bit bigger. So I'll set the height to, let's say, 35 pixels like this. And now it looks much better. But I also want to change the cursor once I am hovering on the button. So what I'll do is that I'll come out of the button styles and then retype the button like this, introduce my column, and I'll have a property called hover like this. And whenever I hover on the button, all the styles that will be typed here will be applied. Okay, so for example, I want to change the color of the text when I hover on it from its current color to, let's say, something like this, but I'll make it a bit lighter. So let me bring it to somewhere here like this. Okay, so the moment I hover on it, the color will change, but I don't like the way it happens all of a sudden. So I'll set transition to, let's say, 2.5 seconds like this. So once I hover on it, it will take some time before, Then also I think I'll increase the padding top and padding down. So I'll set the padding top and down. I'll set the top to, let's say, 12 pixels and the left and right to be 0 like this. So once I hover on it, okay, I think it is happening to the text. Okay, because of the height that I set. Okay, because of the height. Okay, and okay, in that case, I'll set the height to to fit content like this, and let's see if it works. I will explain the fit content to you in a moment. Okay, I think, yeah, it's working perfectly like this. Great. Now I also want to change the cursor from its current state to a pointer. So what I'll do is that I'll just type cursor and then set its property to pointer like this. So once I hover on it, the cursor will change from its current state to a pointer. You can also set it to not allowed, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. So once you hover on it, it means it is not allowed. You cannot click it. You cannot perform any task with this button. Okay, I think I should just forget about this too. It's not really nice to me. Okay, so let me set the not allowed back to pointer like this. Great. So it looks better now. I think the padding, I'll set this one to 0 and then set the top and bottom to, let's say, 10 like this. Yeah, so I think it looks better now. Now I said I was going to talk to you about the fit content. Okay, so for example, when I come to the form container, I can also set a height for it. So maybe under the width property, I will set a height of, let's say, 200 pixels like this. Oh, not 20, 200 like this. Okay, I think 150 will be fine to explain the point that I want to make here. So as you can see, this is the container. We have set it to a height of 150 pixels, but the element inside the container is extending beyond the dimensions that we have set. So for example, if I set the overflow of this container to hidden. It means anything that goes beyond will not be shown, or it will be hidden. Is that okay? But to avoid such a situation, or to avoid the content of the form extending to other elements, what we can do is that instead of giving an actual figure for the height, we can set it to fit content, so that the height will automatically cover all the elements in it. Okay, the height of the container will make room for all the elements in it. Is that okay? So for example, if I come back here and then copy this input, okay, and then paste it again, the container will make room for it. Okay, so let me clean this one. Let me change this one to confirm password. Okay, so as you add new elements to the container, because the height has been set to fit content, it will make room for it. Is that okay? Great. So that is how it is. So you can go ahead and do whatever you want to do. So for example, the input like this. Now that we have set the border to none here, okay, we can also set a border button. I think some website, that is what they do. They have border button. So I'll set border bottom to, let's say, 1.5 pixels solid light gray, something like this. Okay, the reason why we can't see is that because of the lightness of the gray. So for example, if I change the light gray to actual gray like this, then maybe we'll see the color. So as you can see, let me also increase this one to 2.5 so that you see something. So that is it right there. Okay, when you click it, the stars that has been written in the focus will be applied to the button. Is that okay? Yeah, I think that is cool, right? Great. Okay guys, so this is where we dispense today's lesson. I hope you learned a thing or two. If you did, kindly leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But before we conclude everything, so that you can be on your merry way, don't forget that I have the link to my WhatsApp group where I share links to my resources and offer personalized assistance to people who are subscribed to my channel in the description. So go check it out and join. I'll see you next time with another lesson. Until we meet again, peace out.